Hmm.
Rookie mistake by me leaving the thing up hanging there. That's okay. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome into another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show, a proud member of Fantasy Points and the Fantasy Points Media Group. Just a quick reminder, use code 21110 and you'll get 10% off all the great tools over at fantasypoints.com. You got the DFS optimizers, fantasy analysis, and tools and tricks and all that great stuff guaranteed to help you win your leagues down the stretch here for your fantasy football championships and all the other sports that go with the Fantasy Points brand. But we're here to talk baseball tonight. And, of course, you know our first guy here. He's a guy, this guy, he's a piece of cheese that reads Fangraph data and children's books in the same night. It's Art Tornabene, a.k.a. Little Cheesecake, the LC. LC, how's it going?
It's good, man. It's going real well. I got my doggy style pale ale right here. So that's doggy style. Yeah. Flying Dog Brewery.
You're Flying Dog. Yeah, I remember that.
Style. It's very good stuff.
Get your
good
mind
beer.
out the gutter.
Yeah, I didn't know there had a beer called that one.
Well, what is your favorite style of anything? Doggy style, hot doggy style for when you're eating at a barbecue, you know?
This podcast is getting after dark very quickly.
I'm just saying, beer and doggy style. That's what's wrong.
Well, we also no problems. Cheesecake, you got a dirty mind. We're going to move on here.
45.
We're also joined by a man that's preparing to eat a lot of Chinese food this week. That's Eric Mendelson, aka the Doc. What's up?
I mean, you just told everyone I'm Jewish right there, so cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, I think they already knew that. But you're going to Kevin's restaurant Thursday?
Friday. Thursday, Friday. How about I actually go on Christmas and do the stereotypical
wait,
Christmas on
Saturday. God, I'm all over.
Gosh, David, you're Catholic and you don't even know that.
I know
we're taking you back to our side.
Yeah. Of course, also joined by the last member of the crew, a guy who idolizes Bob Burnquist. It is Marty Tallman. What's up?
Man, Bob Burnquist, the fakie 5-0, fakie flip out back into the vert ramp in like 2001 best trick contest was absolutely unbelievable. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, so I was hoping, I was like, I know you skateboard. And I was like, does he know his skateboarders, especially the old school ones?
More than baseball, without a doubt.
Really?
Yeah.
This is a whole separate discussion for another day. We could go the Chad Muskas, the Bucky Lassicks.
He's going to be the
Eric
Jeff
Austin.
Yeah.
There it is. Day one song.
Jamie Thomas.
Is there a
Jamie Thomas, man, the leap of faith.
Is there a fantasy skateboard podcast?
No, that would be, you could do it for like street league somehow. It's possible, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
Well,
Tony Hawk's pro skater.
That voice you heard before we continue with our pro skater talk, we welcome in a man who will kick your ass, whether it's in fantasy baseball or in CrossFit. Uncle Block, as he's called by some, does MLB fantasy for FTN Fantasy and calls the chalk donkeys like he sees them. Ladies and gentlemen, the man who runs through your mind like he does marathons and races, a surveyor of land and the sea as he is the Brockness monster. It's our guy, Brock Miller. What's up, man?
Man, I'm just so pumped to be here. This is actually my first podcast of the off season. Just started getting ready. Jumped in my first draft on Sunday. Already getting my ass whooped on that one. So yeah, man, draft season's here. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man. So what does your kind of off-season schedule usually consist of? Like you get in your first drafts kind of the end of December, and then January you start just cranking them out. What's it normally go for you?
Yeah, that's the way it's turning up this year. In years past, I've been pretty good for waiting for like mid-January, like early January. I'll kind of put together some projections and kind of have my ideas on guys, and I'll start joining like DCs then, and then just kind of build from there. But I got the itch a little bit early this year, and so yeah, I just jumped into a draft this last weekend. no research. I don't have any rankings put together. Just jumping in raw. Like, I hate my team. It's terrible. It's so bad. I had to put it on Twitter. Like, everybody puts their tweet, they're super proud of the way their draft started and stuff like that. I'm like, this is so awful. You guys got to see this thing. So it's pretty bad. So,
I mean, what better way to get used to just getting your feet wet and just jumping right in, right?
That is absolutely it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just started actually doing my research this week, and I'm planning to start doing some drafts starting right after the holidays. And I feel like every single year it's earlier and earlier. Like, it's getting pushed up more and more. People are doing drafts in October. And then, it's crazy. I mean, I respect those that are doing it, but I'm almost like by the end of the season, I need to kind of recollect and just kind of take a little bit of time before the next 8 to 10 months go, right?
Right. The end of the season hits, and I try to go camping every weekend for like at least like 6 weeks or something like that. Like, just do the absolute opposite. Everything I do, I'm trying to create balance. My job, I'm stuck sitting here inside on a computer all day. So I spend a lot of my free time outside, creating that balance there. And you can't create that balance if you're drafting when the World Series is going on. If you're drafting for 2022, that's not creating balance. That's just, I would get burned out,
And it's peak football season. So it's like you can't.
There's other things to do.
Yeah, you can't quit checking your team at week 8. Like, you got to keep piling through.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we're talking fantasy baseball, so I guess we're guilty too. We're not drafting, but we're talking fantasy baseball. And we got a great show today with Brock here. We've got Fixing the Division NL West edition. So it is our last bit of our Fixing the Division series. And we're talking about basically, once everybody talks free agency, position previews, dynasty outlooks, all that type of good stuff that's going to be coming in 2022. We kind of want it to be a little different here. Put our GM hats on and try to fix every team in every division, contenders, pretenders, what free agents the team should bring in, trade away stars to collect assets, all that great stuff. Again, kind of concluding this series tonight with the NL West. We've got Brock doing the Dodgers, Brock and Dodgers close. Brock doing the Dodgers, Doc doing the Padres, Art doing the Giants, Marty doing the Diamondbacks, and then I'm doing the Colorado Rockies because no one else wants to talk about the Rockies. So let's talk about the first bullet point in this discussion. Bad contracts. Are there any bad contracts on this team? And if so, are they movable? So, Brock, I'm going to you first. For your Dodgers, does this fit anybody on this team?
They're kind of they're definitely one of those teams that they don't go for the big deals, except for if it's like the young superstar guys. Something that I've noticed that they do, not only young superstar guys, but guys that run really fast. Those guys are the guys that tend to age, not like Albert Pujols. I think they're going to try to extend Trey Turner. I will probably get to that in a minute or whatever, but guys like that. So looking around at the roster, they have contracts that really stick out to me that they wouldn't really want. Like, if anybody fits into that category, it's AJ Pollock, but I think he definitely has a place on this team. He's a good player. So I definitely wouldn't call him a bad contract that they're trying to offload. There's a lot of teams that have, better examples of that, I think.
What's Max Muncie's contract?
I think he's got 2 years. He was only 2 years in, and they gave him an extension. I don't know that it covered all of his arbitration years. It was like a 3-year deal. I think he is locked up. Let's see. He's got 5 years of service time, and he's a free agent at the end of. No, he has a club option for 23. So it's a cheap deal. I think he's owed like $9 million this year. He's kind of interesting though, because we got to find out how much he's even going to play this year. Yeah,
he has a torn UCL, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Right. Yeah, that's what. So I've been seeing. I haven't. It's definitely a scenario where I think if they're going to do Tommy John surgery, it would have been done, 2 months ago. So I think they're going to try and rehab it. He got the the platelet-rich injections that they usually do. I think they're going to try and do without the Tommy John surgery, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, you look at it right now, he's projected to make $13 million this year.
Oh, is it 13?
At least it's according to Spot Track. They have him as a $11.5 million base salary and then a $1.5 million signing bonus.
So Brock,
okay, that was part of 326. Yeah.
Let me ask you, because you and I are probably the only teams that have players with big contracts like Mookie Betts, Fernando Tatis. Are you going to say that they're bad contracts because of how they're going to be down the road, or is it just kind of a uncharted waters territory?
So for me, they're not going to be bad contracts. These are like the way that these guys sign these contracts. There is a little bit of that money that's involved in these contracts that they're getting paid for what they've done. You know, when those guys were 22 years old and they were earning $19 million out on the field and they got paid $560,000. I mean, obviously the system is the way it is. And it's also the way the system is the reason why we're in the situation we're currently in right now. There's that too, but there is a little bit of these guys getting paid for what they've done in the past. So I think the teams always know that the back ends of these contracts are always not going to be great. I think that with the way that they had the luxury tax done, Bryce Harper is probably a better example of the point that I'm trying to make here. You know, Bryce Harper wanted the $300 million contract, and I think the Phillies said, okay, we'll give you the big contract that you want, but we're trying to give you a 10-year contract, but we're going to give you a 13-year contract and then have you play it out. We'll cut you when there's 3 years left on the deal. You still get the same amount of money, but the average annual value of that contract that's going to go towards, you know, the luxury tax is going to be a lot less. I think they agreed on a 10-year, $300 million deal, and then they just kind of spread it out that way. And so if you look at things in those terms, you know, even if these guys, you know, if they're good for like the first half of these contracts, I think a team, especially a team like the Dodgers that have a lot of money to spend, I think they're going to be happy with the money that they've spent.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, again, that's why Muncie was the only thing that I kind of questioned, but he is a free agent, or technically they wouldn't have to pay him after this year. So if that UCL thing kind of lingers and there's questions, they can cut bait from that. So yeah, I agree. And then a lot of great young guys that they have that I'm sure we'll talk about later. Now, Cheesecake, you have the Giants, a team that hasn't spent like the Dodgers, but they've competed with the Dodgers.
Absolutely.
So any bad contracts over in the Bay Area?
Well, I know, you know, I apologize for saying doggy style before. You know, I should not bring the sort of content.
I don't know.
You don't have to be a baseball missionary to love the way the Giants run their program.
Right? You were something else. You were something else.
Keeps it coming. Just keeps it coming.
The only contract that really gives me any pause for them right now is Evan Longoria, who has 2 years and about $32 million left on his contract. And really he started out the season very hot. He just missed about half of it. And I don't really see him playing big games. I think he's going to be missing a lot of time from here on out. 2 years left, $32 million. I don't think that's really movable. Brendan Crawford has 2 years, $32 million left, but he looks like he's pretty durable. That's not really that too much to pay for a guy who provides really good defense and is an above average hitter at his position. So I don't really think anyone other than Longoria, you know, would really qualify as a bad contract.
Yeah, and they didn't re-sign Gosman, so they didn't spend a ton of money on him. They just kind of re-signed a bunch of, you know, mid-tier pitchers. You got the DeSclafanis and a couple
Alex
other.
Wood.
And I'm sorry?
Alex Wood.
And Alex Wood. Yeah, like those types of guys that they brought in just to kind of eat up some innings. And the Dodgers or the Giants have been kind of taking these guys and churning them out into effective pitchers for them. Not flashy, but they're getting the job done. So, you know, again, I think that's what they do. That's why there's not too many bad contracts there. Marty, you had the Diamondbacks. You were very excited to do the Diamondbacks. Any bad contracts there?
Yeah, so the Diamondbacks, I mean, so we always ask the question, the biggest question of this is how can we fix them? And they are unfixable for this year. They have the fifth lowest payroll in baseball, so that is on their side. It's at $66.6 million. And to put that into perspective, the A's have invested more into their players at this point than the Diamondbacks. But there's only one really bad contract, and that's Madison Bumgarner. So he's owed $23 million each year for the next 3 years. Or in other words, he's making more than Robbie Ray is. So he just won the Cy Young, just signed a brand new contract, and Bumgarner's still making a couple more million per year for him for a little bit. Last year, Bumgarner had a 4.67 ERA and a 4.57 SIERA. So for me at this point, I think obviously his best days are behind him. He's basically an innings eater who only gets you about 130, maybe 140. And they're just going to have to wait that one out. It's not movable.
Yeah. Diamondbacks have been I feel like they had that one stretch a few years ago where they were looking to spending a lot of money and they were trying to contend. And now they're kind of just trying to tear it down slowly but surely, but they're still kind of in a weird area. They're
in a weird spot. 2019, they overachieved. 2020, they kind of stayed even. And then last year, they were one of the worst teams in baseball.
Yeah, I think it's a very weird situation going on in Arizona. Doc, you have kind of the opposite right now, going with the Padres, a team that's spending money like it's going out of style. A team with tons of young talent, tons of players they brought on big contracts here, trying to compete with the Dodgers, trying to make a name for the San Diego city here. Tell us about the Padres here. What should we know about their contract situation?
So I grouped it into two sorts of contracts. The ones are, we'll have to wait and see. Tatis is in the second year of the 14-year, $340 million extension. We're going to have to see how that plays out over time. Obviously, he's had some shoulder issues, but when he's on the field, he's amazing. Machado has 7 years, $234 million left. So those are in the two categories. Now I'm going to give you some bad contracts. Eric Hosmer has 4 years, $60 million left from the 8-year, $144 he signed. I'll give you one guess of who his agent is.
Scott Boras.
Oh, of course. We got Will Myers, who's in the last year of his deal, but he's making $22.5 million. We have your guy, Pomeranz, Drew David, who has 2 years, $20 million.
Why is that my guy?
Just the way I said it. We'll talk about it off air.
Okay, I have no idea what that means.
2 years, $20 million left on his contract. And then this one isn't awful, but I'm just not a Blake Snell fan. And he has 2 year, $29.1 million left. He's making $13.1 million this year, 16.6 next year at age 31. I just don't think he's going to age well.
It's interesting because I've actually heard some people in the industry say that this is a bounce back for Blake Snell this year based off of what he did at the end of last year. So you're not buying.
I mean, here's the thing. Blake Snell isn't a bad pitcher, but I will never have him on my team because I'll never overdraft him.
Well,
last year he hadn't gone 7 innings pitched in a game since he won the Cy Young in 2018 and until like July of last year. Like he was topping out at like 5-6 innings. And like, I just can't spend, a round 3, round 4 pick on a guy that I don't think can give me the upside that I'm looking for. I'll take a Lance Lynn. Marty knows that might throw 8 shutout innings, or maybe he gets bombed in 3 innings, but he has a higher ceiling than Blake Snell does.
So right now, Blake Snell's going 123, according to MSBC.
That's disrespectful. So maybe I'll take it.
Who's around him for context?
All right. So these are the pitchers around him. Right after him at 124 is Nate Eovaldi. Then you have Ian Anderson. And then the next starting pitcher is Shane Baz.
Wow.
And just ahead of him is Justin Verlander and Carlos Rodon. I don't know why Carlos Rodon is that high.
Yeah, I would take him over Rodon. I think the rest of those I would take over Snell.
Brock, you were kind of shaking your head with the Blake Snell. What are your thoughts on Blake Snell?
Yeah, I mean, from a DFS perspective, it was really sweet there in July when Snell made noticeable changes to his the way that he was attacking hitters, and the results came, and it was a profitable couple starts there when people expected him just to pitch the way that he had in the first 3 months of the season there, and the results kept coming in. I haven't looked at the prices a whole lot, but I might be in on Blake Snell this year. Like when these guys have a great year, guys that aren't consistent pitchers, when they have a great year, if they're coming off a great year, like I'm just automatically going to probably not pay their price. When not that great. Blake Snell is great. I mean, he's definitely not great, but he's got some upside there. And his price, this year compared to where it was last year, if you look at his price year to year, There might be some value there this year. I might be on Blake Snell.
Yeah, right now he has a min pick of 63 and a max pick of 169.
If I get him at 169, I'll tell you what, I'll take him there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I mean, I guess past pick 100, I'll probably take the upside that he gives you at that point. That's
the strikeout rate was like, I should have looked. I'd like to look it up. I mean, that strikeout rate was like top 5 in baseball those last 2 months of the season. And I know it's a short sample size, but that is a lot of strikeouts.
Yeah, and I mean, you're technically where he's going right now. You get him after the 7th round. Like that's a pretty good, especially if you wait for pitcher and you can get him as like your second or third pitcher. I think that's a lot of upside there. I mean, I'll see what happens to his price, but
what was he? He was like, I think by like main event season last year, he was going like 45, 50 overall. I think something like that.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna pull up right now.
And it's not like he had a bad start to the season and a great finish to the season. Like, I think we kind of know what we have with Blake Snell. Like, my opinion of him has not changed like a ton. And he was, a 45, a 50 overall guy last year. 100 overall this year that's cool.
I got his K percentages here. So in August, it was 38.8%. In September and October, 42.3%. So
that's just like relief pitcher numbers.
That's astonishing.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you can kind of see as far as the draft trends with his ADP, kind of where it's going right now. Kind of hasn't really changed too much since the beginning of draft season, but it's kind of I could see it going up once we get a little closer to where we're at now. But let's go from that. Let's talk about the Rockies, and I'll keep the Rockies discussions very short here. They have one bad contract, you could say. Trevor Story and John Gray are both gone. Charlie Blackmon has 2 years remaining, making $21.3 and $18.3 million over the next 2 years. Both of them are player options, so most likely he's going to be opting into both. His $21 million this year is actually almost a quarter of the team's total salary, which is at $98 million right now. So I don't know how you guys feel about Charlie Blackmon. Obviously, he's a guy you could have maybe as like a 4th or 5th outfielder that's not great at this point in his career, but he's, someone at that spot isn't going to hurt you quite crazy. He's obviously not going to give you stolen bases, but his power seemed like it hasn't quite been there what it used to be. And that's not a good contract right now with the Rockies, especially a team that's basically trying to sell off its assets and are in this kind of just ugly area where there's not a lot of assets on this team and you don't really know what they're going to be doing to step in the right direction. They have CJ Cron, Antonio Senzatella. They also have Scott Oberg. They're all making $7 million on short deals this year, 1-year deals. So those aren't really bad contracts. It's just kind of a mess. They have Blackmon and then just a bunch of pieces there. So we'll get into more of their team a little bit later, but not great. Not great. Biggest assets. All right, so now we're going to start here with Cheesecake. I'm going to have you lead this one off.
Mm-hmm.
Who are your team's biggest assets? Will your team be keeping them or moving them for future parts?
The biggest asset on the team right now is Logan Webb, who is, well, I think you can argue that at the major league level, it's Logan Webb, the guy who they're hoping becomes their staff ace for the future, the guy who they're hoping gets that 190 innings that they lost from Gosman from last season. And they want to replace that. But then they also have some pretty nice prospects. They got Marco Luciano. It's a great prospect, top 5 prospect in all of baseball. Got Joey Bart's top 20 prospect in all of baseball. I don't necessarily know what to expect from him this year coming up, but there's some good assets here. I don't think they're going to be looking to trade from their assets at this point, but there's a lot to like here. But most of their stuff on the major league level, late 20s, early 30s. Not a lot of young guys, not a lot of guys who you're looking at upside, except Logan Webb.
Logan Webb really burst on the scene this past year.
Mm-hmm.
Cheesecake, do you think that he can replicate anything he did from last season, or do you think it was a mirage?
No, I'm bullish on Webb for this year coming up. I think the Giants do a good job handling their staff. I think they're going to finish putting together a pretty good bullpen. I'm bullish on him. I don't know if he's going to get 190 innings, but I think that he's going to take the next step in his maturation. He's going to have a real nice year.
Okay. All right. Marty, the Diamondbacks. Why don't you tell us about their assets?
Yeah, so we'll start with who I think they're going to keep. Number one's going to be Dalton Varsho. So last year at the beginning, the first half of the year, the 25-year-old, I mean, he really struggled when he came up. He did so bad they actually sent him back down. But once he came back on June 19th, he looked really good. So after the All-Star break, Varsho slashed 290, 349, 530 with 10 home runs and 5 stolen bases. So he has the ability to play catcher and outfield, and he's looking at like a 2015 kind of player. So I think they're going to be keeping him long-term. And they also have 3 prospects in the top 50. Jordan Lawler, shortstop. He's ranked 13 overall. Corbin Carroll, outfielder. He's ranked 20th overall as a prospect. And Alex Thomas, he's ranked 40th. Expect Thomas to actually come up this year. I'm pretty excited for that, along with Seth Beer as well. But those are the ones I think they're going to hold on to. And I think this year the Diamondbacks are going to be some of the biggest shakers coming in, especially for contending teams. Number one, they have Ketel Marte. Mm-hmm. So, he's going to be their biggest asset moving forward. Number 2 is David Peralta. I think he's 34 years old. He's past his prime, but he has 1 more year left. He might be able to help somebody out. Merrill Kelly, I think a lot of contending teams that need a 4th, 5th starter, he makes a lot of sense for that. And then Nick Ahmed. He's still one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball. So, maybe a team like the Astros or Angels that need just a veteran stopgap. I think that'll be it. But yeah, that's it.
Ketel Marte, what's his contract? Do you know what his contract status is, Marty? Because if he's locked in, I could see them getting a haul for Ketel Marte.
Yeah, so he's controlled for the next 3 seasons at $8 million a year in 2022, and then club options for 23 and 2024. So that's only a total of $22 million. So, hey, it's a very reasonable contract with his age and his ability. I mean, the Diamondbacks are pretty much asking for a ton for Marte. Who was that? I think it was.
That's what we call manipulation.
Yeah, they did a good job of it. And Ken Rosenthal, that's exactly what he said. He says the Diamondbacks are expecting a bigger haul than they got for Paul Goldschmidt and Zach Greinke.
Yeah, I mean, with that type of control and for what he offers, I can understand why. Doc, the Padres, obviously, they have the Tatises of the world, and they have some big-name stars, but I wouldn't necessarily call those assets that they're going to trade. Do they have guys that you think that they might trade or, any type of players that they might bring in there?
So the Padres have made the postseason once in the last 10 years, and they currently have the 4th largest payroll. So they're going to go all in. Now, I look at their starting pitching, and it's locked in as Darvish, Clevenger coming off Tommy John, Musgrove, and probably Dinelson Lamet, because I don't think anyone's going to trade for him. So I think their biggest asset that they might trade is
Snell.
And Blake Snell. So I think their biggest asset is Chris Paddock. Chris Paddock's going to be due for a payday at some point soon based on his upside. He's 26 years old. So I think he could be a name that's floated around. Adrian Morahan, who showed some upside last year. He's 23 years old. He has a 3.86 ERA. I think Trent Grisham, once again, they're kind of loaded in that outfield. I don't think anybody's going to take the Hosmer contract. And then they have 3 top of the 50 prospects. They have CJ Abrams, who's a 6'2 shortstop, who's number 6. Luis Campusaro, who is a 5'11 catcher, and then Robert Hassel, who's an outfielder, who's number 43. So once again, I think they're going all in. I wouldn't be surprised if they package 2 or 3 of these guys to get a superstar player that might try and push them over. I would expect maybe that they go for a hitter. Not saying they go for like a Mike Trout, but someone like an Alex Bregman type who is a bona fide all-star, and they might be able to, maybe like a Ketel Marte, then they can move to second base, outfield, have kind of that Yerkson profile role and give up some of these rebuilding pieces.
Well, it'd be interesting because they know they have Jake Cronenworth there.
I don't think they're getting rid of Cronenworth. I think he's too beneficial just because of the flexibility he has, especially with his stolen base upside. But I mean, they got Trent Grisham for basically nothing. Like Trent Grisham couldn't have played in Milwaukee anymore after that ball went under his glove against the Nationals. mean, he wasn't welcome back there. So I think that makes him a little bit more expendable.
Yeah. So, yeah, the Padres obviously have a lot of good prospects. And, of course, you got to wonder what Mackenzie Gore, if he's considered an asset at this point. Yeah. I don't even know what happened to him. I mean, he was as touted as any pitcher in the last couple of years, I feel like, as far as the upside when they first got drafted and then just completely fell apart.
Him and Forrest Whitley walked into a bar together.
Yeah, probably. Brock, back to the Dodgers. Any assets that they have that you realistically could see them potentially trading or anything of that nature?
They're going to have to find them because I don't know that free agency is the way that they're going to replenish the rotation. They could go and like add Rodon or one of those guys, but I think, probably a trade is a more likely scenario for them. I think you could make the argument, Gavin Lux is probably looking like the number one option for them at second base. But if you really want to run a platoon at second base for them, there's probably a case to be made for Zach McKinstry to play part of the platoon there, and him and like say Chris Taylor, and then Taylor can even against righties, Taylor can stay in the lineup and hit against right-handers and play left field in lieu of AJ Pollock. So I think you could make a case to trade Gavin Lux to try and cash in on him. I think he still has good value right now. If it was totally up to me, though, I'm holding on to Gavin Lux and just see if he can have a little bit of a breakout. I think that if he is going to break out, this is the year that it's going to happen for him. But the bottom line is that the Dodgers are going to have to add, probably two starters. As it sits right now, Buehler and Urias at the top there. And I'm a Tony Gonsolin fan. But nobody's penciling him in for 160 innings, of course, 180 innings, nothing like that. So Andrew Heaney, David Price, you got one of the biggest payrolls in baseball, and you're trying to win a World Series. I don't think you can go into the season with whatever's left of David Price as your number 5 starter. I think you're going to have to go out there and add. So Gavin Lux is probably the most obvious fit for as far as, a trade from the major league roster, move down to the minor leagues. I don't think Bobby Miller's going anywhere. He's shot up prospect rankings. He was their first round pick. I mean, the Dodgers get like their best prospects and it's guys that they get, they pick 28th in the draft every year, and they still pick better prospects than the teams that get top 10 picks. Bobby Miller shot up the prospect rankings. I don't think he's going anywhere. Ryan Pepio, he's probably a guy that could probably work into that rotation at some point this season. So I don't think they're going to want to trade him away. But maybe like Diego Cartaya, he's a catcher. He's pretty young. He's a couple years away. He actually played here in Rancho Cucamonga this year. Got to see him over there a couple of times, but pretty high level catching prospect there. And the Dodgers are pretty locked in with Will Smith, a catcher there, and they really like Austin Barnes. I think they extended him for 2 years this offseason. So, Cartaya is a little bit blocked. I think when you have mega prospects that are like 20 years old, it's kind of it doesn't make a lot of sense to say that they're blocked at the major league levels. They're a couple years out, and if the bat plays, then they'll find a way there. But he could make sense as a trade there. And they've got a couple other guys there that they could probably do without. The Dodgers build out a pretty good farm system there. As we can see, I think their system slipped to middle of the pack after the trade for Max Scherzer and Trey Turner there. That's pretty big, though. Josiah Gray, when you trade away your 2 best prospects, I mean, it's going to, you're going to take a hit there. So the system is still got some interesting arms in there. I think the Dodgers have an interesting bullpen already, even with if they decide to let, Kenley Jansen walk. I still think the bullpen's going to be pretty solid there. There's a lot of interesting young arms in there. So I don't know that they need to really go out of their way to make a trade for that. It's probably going to be for starting pitching. And so maybe that's Gavin Lux. Maybe it's one of those younger hitters.
Talk about starting pitching. What are your thoughts on Andrew Heaney this year? Does he bounce back with the Dodgers? Is he one of those you guys you get at the end of your draft that ends up being a gem? What are you on the
I
spot?
drafted him in a few spots last year, like DCs. I was kind of like, oh man, he's gonna strike out 220 guys this year. It's gonna be great. Take him 220th overall, whatever that was. Like,
So let me tell you where his ADP is.
Where is he going now? Like 500 is not that way. I mean, no, but still.
Yeah, he's right now settled at 330.
330.
He does have a max pick of 584.
Ooh, that's good. 584. Anybody that projects to like start 15 games in a season, you can, when you're getting that deep, that's an option. That's fine. But Andrew Heaney, I just the upside's been there. He was a Dodger for 10 minutes at some point, like 3 or 4 years ago. I think if you guys recall, he came over in the D. Gordon trade. If anybody remembers that guy. Yeah, Andrew Heaney. Do I have confidence in Andrew Heaney? No, but I'm also like a guy that like sits at home alone and plays fantasy baseball. And those guys that get paid like millions of dollars to make these kinds of decisions, they were like, yeah, I kind of like that guy. Bring him in. So don't take my opinion. Don't listen to my opinion on Andrew Heaney. The really smart guys liked him. So I'm going to go with that as my answer there. I think, the fastball is bad with Heaney there, but he's got a good curveball. I don't know why I always think like Rich Hill with him. Like if he could command the curveball well enough, Rich Hill had a bad fastball, but he could put it in the exact same spot that he needed to put it in often enough that it really mirrors away from that curveball, and he could really make that work. He's just super old and can't stay healthy. Maybe there's something in there for Heaney. The Dodgers are famous for teaching a good slider to pitchers and getting the most out of pitchers there. I don't know if that's something that really works for Heaney because he's a fastball curveball guy, but it's going to be interesting to see. I'm not super excited, but if anybody's going to do it, it's the Dodgers, right?
The rule of Andrew Heaney is he has 3 max starts good in a row just before you can start trusting him, and then he has a bad one.
And then
it's usually in a favorable matchup against like the Marlins.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. No, that's there. It's really funny. Like, I don't know how much DFS you guys play. I'm a big DFS guy. And I have a rule. Anytime, guys like Heaney, there's just a handful of those guys out there where, most days you're just kind of analyzing the matchups and kind of seeing where it falls and stuff like that. And then there's guys like Andrew Heaney where it's like, I don't need to look at the matchup. If like 25% of the field is going to be on Heaney, I'm out. Like the only time I'm going to take him is when nobody else is taking him because you just can't predict him.
Right. No, he is very like 7 innings, 10 Ks, no runs, and then the next start 3 innings, 8 earned runs. He's
5
the king
home runs at Yankee Stadium.
Yep. I'll keep it real quick with the Rockies. They have right now German Marquez is kind of interesting, 11.3 and 15.3, and then 16 mil over the next 3 years, all club options. So a very affordable salary for a pitcher of his caliber and someone they could shop. They actually only have one player in the top 50 prospects according to MLB.com, and that's Zach Veen, who's projected to come up in 2024. He's definitely one of the names that's been floated around the prospect community. He's a very big asset for them coming up. Connor Joe, potentially too. He had a nice first season. He's kind of, I think, someone that as draft seasons pick up, his name's going to be floated around more because he could lead off for the Rockies. And that's very valuable. And he did pretty well in his short time there last year. So those are really the only assets right now. I don't see them parting with Connor Joe or Zach Veen. I could see at the deadline if they're really struggling and a team's going to throw something at them for German Marquez. Potentially he goes, but that's about it. All right, Marty, let's talk about possible targets that you could maybe your team accepts or trade. Let me speak English. Possible offseason targets you think this team might bring in via a trade or free agency.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Diamondbacks might not be spending big money. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. I can make this real quick. So they actually already signed Mark Melanson to help, boost their bullpen. It was one of the worst in baseball last year. So I think their next logical step is to get some more starting pitching. Now, whether that's, bringing back like a Zach Grenky or Michael Pineda, I think they're just going to get a low tier, somebody just to eat up some innings at the back end. They're 2 years out from being any type of competitive team at all. So I don't see too many moves coming.
Well, I had the Rockies potentially getting Michael Pineda, so our teams are going to fight over him. So,
I think he wants to come to Arizona.
that's probably true. Doc, Padres, same question for you.
So I had a couple targets for them. Ketel
Mhm.
Marte or Jose Ramirez, thinking of teams that are probably looking to tank. And once again, they have the assets to do that. I think it'd be interesting to see if they made a really aggressive push for someone like Cedric Mullins, who's going to be cheap. They could have for years to come. Obviously give the O's a huge overall. I think it's going to be interesting as we get closer to the trade deadline. I think they're going to be buyers, and they're going to go for whichever team is looking to sell.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean they're all in, obviously, so they're going to keep doing what they're doing.
They put their chips in the middle.
They are. They as much as any team. Brock, what about you? Any pieces? I know the Dodgers have a lot of guys already there. Could there be some depth that they're looking to bring in there?
Nobody really comes to mind for me. I mean, kind of like we were mentioning there with the pitchers. They're gonna sign a couple guys that I think that they could bring in, and maybe there's a chance that they can get the most out of somebody, and somebody that can fill in when David Price is not able to be there, or however that works out. But that's about it for that.
Yeah, Dodgers seem pretty set. Cheesecake, what about the Giants?
I mean, I think when you look at the Giants, you have to look at the fact that their lineup is full of guys who are around 30. A lot of them overachieved last season, and none of them you're looking at. Not many you're looking at. Oh, is there another level they can reach? Most of them are regression candidates. Right now, they're sitting about $35 million under what they spent last season. So to me, that says that they got about $35 million in spending room. I mean, they're a team, if not more. And I should think that after last season, they might be willing to spend a little more. You don't want to be going from playoff Cowboys, put that in reverse, reverse cowgirls then. And then they're not in the playoffs anymore.
Just name every,
load up the wheelbarrow and bring the money. It's Nick Castellanos, I think, is a great signing for them. They need a bat. They really need a bat. They need pitching depth as well. I love Zach Grenky, the idea of Grenky going to the Giants. There's some sports writers who love the idea of them making a run at Clayton Kershaw, but I don't see Kershaw doing that.
No.
But I like Grenky. I think Castellanos, I wouldn't mind like a Schwarber. I think Schwarber would be a nice pickup for them. But they definitely need to bring in some bats. And the other question I have is, are they going to bring back some of the guys who did really well for them last year, who are free agents like Donovan Solano? Are they going to want to go forward with Tommy La Stella at second base? Are they going to want to bring in more guys? Those are the questions I have. I think they're going to spend some money still, though.
I like those calls, and I also like how you keep the same theme going. I'm interested to see if you got any more as we keep going here. As far as the Rockies go, their outfielders have a 80, 71, and 96 OPS plus, which isn't necessarily horrible, but for having those be your numbers in Colorado, that's actually not very good. Obviously, right now, they have Raimel Tapia, Garrett Hampson, and Charlie Blackmon, Connor Joe. Sam Hilliard is there. So he's got 14 homers and 238 plate appearances last year. But he struck out 36.6% of the plate appearances when he did play. So I think that they might need a pitcher. Their pitching staff definitely needs some more arms there. So maybe like a Michael Pineda, a Danny Duffy, maybe, or my favorite pitcher to always say for every team, Zach Davies.
Oh my gosh.
But I think Kyle Schwarber, if he was smart and wanted to get a big contract, he would sign with Colorado. Because can you imagine Kyle Schwarber in Colorado? I mean, that's a way to get you a big contract if you're mashing in Colorado and in the Rocky Stadium. So maybe something like that would go there, especially if they have a DH, which would be a huge for teams like that. But let's go into the last part of this segment here. Your team's realistic goals for 2022. So give us their final record and then your expectation as far as playoffs, purgatory, or a pushover. And we'll start with you, Doc, for the Padres.
So last year, Padres were 79 and 83. Missed the playoffs with all that talent and all that payroll. I'm going to say they improved by 7 games this year. 86 and 76 and sneak in as the second wild card.
All right, make Padres fans happy. Brock, are the Dodgers winning 100 games this year?
No, I mean I'm taking the under on that. I'm gonna peg him as like a 92 win team. I think if they make like every move that I would hope that they make, like if they add a bat and the DH comes to the National League so that Justin Turner can be the DH. Like if everything falls their way, like maybe I would push them up like a 95, but I'm going to say like 91, 92 wins. And that's really going to be, and even that's like contingent on them adding at least one starting pitcher. If they don't add a starting pitcher, like I still think they're a playoff team. The offense is still good. The starting pitching won't be great, but with those young guys, I think they could find a way. The bullpen will be good. Yeah, I'm going to have them in the low 90s. I'm going to have them sneak into the playoffs like the Padres. But I don't see a World Series winner right here. It's possible. It's possible they can make it happen, but they're going to need to add to what they have now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Dodgers will be always one of the top contending teams, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, especially with the Padres back at full strength this year and the Giants coming back with how they look last year. It's going to be quite a fight in this division. Cheesecake, you have those Giants. What's the expectation?
I think that a lot is going to depend on what they do with their remaining room, their remaining spending room, because you know, if their roster sticks the way it is, are they going to get the same really excellent seasons from guys like Darren Ruff, Wilmer Flores? Are they going to get the amazing Brandon Belt season, the amazing Brandon Crawford season? If their roster stays the way it is, I'm at least 69% sure they're not making the playoffs. But I think that as it is, they're like an 85 win team. But if they get the guy, if they sign, you know, some pitching depth with the Grenky, if they get a Castellanos, I think they're a 90 win team and they're fighting for that wild card. They're going to be fighting for that division again.
Yeah, it's going to be, again, very interesting to watch how that plays out. Marty, me and you have the teams that are not going to be fighting for this division.
Yeah, there won't be much anything interesting over here. Pushover. I think Arizona can do it, guys. They can get 100 losses, 62 and 100.
62 and 100. God, that's just absolutely awful. We're going to be fighting right there with you, Marty, us Colorado Rockians here. I expect a 74 and 87 record. Or I'm sorry, no, last year they were 74 and 87. I'd say they're going to have a 5-game worse record this year, go 69 and 92.
Nice.
They lost Trevor Story, yes, and Sonny Gray. So, or I'm sorry, John Gray.
John Gray.
69 and 92. That doesn't add up, David.
Yes, it does. 69 and 93.
There you go.
No, 69 and 92. Wait a second.
162. So 93.
Yeah. 9 plus 3 equals 2.
Goodness gracious.
Gosh, David, I'm glad I freaking owned you in the last segment of the night.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I was writing these notes up when I was supposed to be teaching. So that's probably why they're very sloppy. Anyway, who cares?
Who's the big brother now?
All right, let's go to the next segment of the night, which is the question of the week. And it is sponsored by Monkey Knife Fight, which, of course, Triple Play Fantasy is an affiliate to Monkey Knife Fight, the fastest growing sports betting site in the United States. And if you're a new depositor, you receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 using promo code Triple Play. So Doc's question this week, which sounded familiar because I think he used it on the football show too.
Yeah, just following your lead.
Is what MLB player do you think throws the wildest parties? Or if you use proper English, which MLB player do you think throws the wildest parties? So this is a very interesting question. I don't think too many MLB players are out there as much as NFL players are. So maybe I'm forgetting somebody. But while we're thinking here, does anybody have one right off the top of the head? Doc, what was your question? Something you have somebody.
So I was thinking Juan Soto. Juan Soto is 23, so he still might be in prime drinking age.
Is he 23?
He's 23. He just turned 23 a couple
I thought
months
he was
ago.
younger than that.
A couple of months ago, he turned 23 in August, so he's still in prime drinking phase. Got a lot of personality, staring down the pitchers. And he, think about when we were 23, like we could just drink easily and bounce back the next day and do it again. I could see him drinking and then going out and, having a 2 for 3 with 2 home run, 4 RBI type of day. His body can handle it.
Okay. Juan Soto leads us off. I don't think that's going to be the best answer, though. Anybody have another one?
Yeah, I have mine. I'm going to go with, because he is 20 years old, this is how I imagine our day. So Wander Franco, we're going out partying. He's picking me up in his BMW that he bought way before he had a big contract. So who knows where he got that from. But anyway, we're going to be in Tampa. We're going to head a little south to Orlando. We're going to Disneyland or Disney World. That's what we're doing, man. Me and the 20-year-old, we're going to be, having just a good day down there. I'm thinking Epcot. I think Epcot's going to be good. And then finish out with Magic Kingdom. We'll have the ears on. It'll be a good time.
A different type of party.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like that.
I can't wait to hear Art's answer.
You were starting to say one.
Oh, I'm going to go. I'm going real quick. I'm going with Derek Jeter. I know he's retired, but the man is loaded. He's in Florida. The man is a sex symbol, so I'm just going to attach myself to him. He's going to throw a great house party. A bunch of people are going to want to be around him. And it's going to be at a sweet house, like one of those houses where people jump from balconies into swimming pools. You know what I'm talking about? And I want to be there. Me and Jeter, we're going to party.
You want your almost famous moment?
I want my almost famous moment. Exactly.
What are you thinking, Brock?
Yeah, I'm going with Tatis, man. Like you see, like Tatis and Machado and those guys after they hit a home run, and they like all the guys, like all the different players have like their handshakes that they do and stuff like that. But like Tatis and Machado and those guys, like they don't have a handshake. Those guys like dance. Like it's a full on dance. It's a whole like. I could just see those guys like having a party after the game, like traditional Latin music playing, and like kind of like that scene there. Big pool, people jumping out of the second floor, but like the dancing and partying and stuff like that. Like I want to party with those guys.
No, I think that ties in exactly with my answer too, because you talk about those type of guys with that personality, but you also take the scene they're in and talk about Francisco Lindor, who is as much of a guy that's going to go and do that type of stuff Tatis does, but he's also in New York. So it's like you can imagine going to his, big, whatever he has in New York, his house or whatever, his multi-story in the city or however he does it. But I feel like Francisco Lindor, Fernando Tatis, all those guys would definitely be good. I'm trying to think. I mean, Brian Wilson might be the best of all time. I feel like he had to have been the best partier.
So I looked up a thing on there, and it ranked him, and Wade Boggs was number 1 because like he drinks beer, a lot of it. And then like the top 10 are like people from like the 50s and 60s, Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
So it's like, these dudes. Yeah, like these dudes would get trash like a Doc Gooden of like, he would do coke and then throw a complete game. Can't do that today.
No. Yeah, you can't. All right, let's go to the last segment of the night, which is the game of the week. And Doc is hosting. So what game are we playing?
All right, so I did a little bit of research, and we're going to see how well you know the recent history of your respective teams. So Marty being a Tigers fan, David a Twins, Brock a Dodgers, and then Art Cubs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a certain category. Let's say the player with the highest batting average since 2010. You would get a first point if you tell me the player. And then if you get the player right, you can advance to move on to the actual guess.
Did you just repeat yourself? You said if you guess the player, you get a point, and then
so like let's say you, David, you said Brian Dozier, that was the right answer. Then you have a chance to get the second point,
which is what's the second?
Whoever gets closest. I didn't do batting average. Like so, for example, the first one is home runs. So which player has the most home runs in a single season for your respective team from 2010 to 2021? So if you get the player,
the second point is guessing the number.
Yeah, but you can only get the second point if you get the first one. So the way the second point works is whoever advances to the second round, whoever gets closest gets 1, and if you get the number exactly, you get an additional 2. So maximum of 3.
Okay.
So David, we're starting with you, and it's home runs. Who's hit the most home runs for the Twins in a season from 2010 to 2021?
I'm pretty sure it was because Mauer had his breakout. I think it was 2009, his MVP season when he hit that. I want to say it's Brian Dozier's 42.
All right, so you got 3 points.
Woo!
Yeah,
Doggy!
yeah.
Brock,
Doggy!
Brock, we're going to you.
Yeah, Bellinger at 46.
Bellinger at 47. You get 1 point. All right, Marty.
Miguel Cabrera, which I think will be the answer a lot of times for the Tigers, but 49.
44. You get 1 point.
Damn it.
Art, to you for the Cubs.
I think it's Chris Bryant with like 38.
Chris Bryant with 39. You get 1 point.
Okay.
Oh, wait, we out here early. Let's go.
All right. All right. So next, Brock is starting off with this. The stolen base leaders.
Oh, that would have been D. Gordon's 41.
I'm not going to say I'm not going to say the answer yet, because if nobody gets closest, then you're going to get that point. But you did not get the number exactly. I'm locking you into 41 on that. Marty,
Okay.
to you.
Austin Jackson, 29.
Rajai Davis.
Whatever.
Remember Austin Jackson.
Rajah Davis.
Art.
We never have anyone who steals bases.
I can't wait to hear who has it.
So our best base stealer. Shoot, I have no idea. Oh, Javi Baez, 24.
Tony Campara.
Oh,
you gotta be
that's
kidding
messed
me.
up. That's deep.
Yeah, that's bad.
All right, David, to you.
The two names that came to mind were Brian Dozier and Byron Buxton, but Buxton's like never healthy enough to steal a bunch of bases. That was after Prime Denard span. Carlos Gomez. That was after Carlos Gomez too. All right, I'm gonna say Brian Dozier, and I'm gonna say 31.
Ben Revere with 40. So Brock,
yeah.
so Brock got 2 points that round. So we got 2 categories left, and then I have a tiebreaker. All right. So Marty, we're starting with you. Saves.
I'm not Todd Jones. What was that big guy's name? Papa Grande. Jose Valverde, 49.
Marty with 2 points. He was 49 for 49 that
That's
season.
that's a good pull, Marty. That's a good
All
one.
right. Art, to you.
Top saves. I think Wade Davis had a really good season for us, and I'm gonna say it's like 36.
Incorrect. Carlos Marmol.
Carlos Marmol. Okay, yeah.
All right, David, to you for Twins.
I'm gonna have a name pull here. I think I can't think of anybody over the last few seasons that really stacked up saves, because Ryan Presley was like a setup man, and we traded him. Is it Glenn Perkins with 36?
David with another 2.
Was that really it? Holy
Yeah.
crap! Holy crap!
All right,
That
Brock. Brock, you probably know who it is.
Yeah, it's
gonna
definitely
be the
Kenley
number.
because Eric Gagne was like
That's
before
02.
2010.
So it's Kenley, but what number?
40,
You got to get
46.
47. So you only get 1 point on that.
Ooh.
So we got David, who's got 6. We've got Brock with 4. We've got Marty with 3 and Art with 1 going into the final question right here. And Art, we're starting with you.
Mhm.
Starting pitcher wins.
The leader in starting pitcher with John Lester. John Lester at 20.
Arrieta at 22.
Oh,
David, to you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, our pitching's been so bad for as
I
long as I can remember.
really enjoyed looking at this category to see how bad your pitching's been.
It's after the Santana and Liriano days. Jose Barrios has been like the only really good pitcher over the last few seasons we've had that I can think of. I feel like there was one year where Ricky Nolasco got some wins for us, but that was a while back. I'm going to say I'm not going to get this at all. I'm just going to say it's Barrios with 16.
Carl Pavano with 17.
Yeah. I knew it was. I remember it was just someone that outperformed what they did.
All right, Brock.
Man, I'm gonna go with Kershaw. I know both he and Grenky in 16 were like neck and neck.
So that's 1 point.
Yeah,
If you get the number exactly right, you win the game.
I'm pretty sure on the last game of the season he won number 20.
Okay. And then Marty.
Justin Verlander, 21.
All right. So Brock, Clayton Kershaw won 21. So you tie with David. Justin Verlander was the right answer, but 24. So Brock and David, you guys each have 6. So this is going to be the tiebreaker question.
All right.
The most amount of wins that you've had in a season from 2010 to 2021. And whoever gets closest will get the point and win the game.
Win?
Yeah, team wins.
Team wins.
Team wins. David, you go first.
Oh my God. I want to say there was one year we were, I think it was 91 wins.
So David, you're locking in 91.
I'm locking in 91.
Okay, Brock.
Yeah, it was this year for the Dodgers. I got an easy one. It was this year.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, I know, right? It was it 105 or 106? And the Giants won 106. 105.
Can I change my answer, Eric? Since I didn't since you didn't say anything yet?
Fine.
96 is my answer.
So you're locking in at 96. And Brock, what are you locking in at?
105.
All right. Well, David, the most the Twins won was 101 in 2019.
Did they really win that many games?
Yeah,
Yep.
they had a big yeah.
And Brock, the Dodgers had 106 in 2019. So you are the winner.
Oh man. God, that hurts after I felt the lead too. Oh man, that
Just like the Twins.
David, I swear you get the superlative.
Wait. I said this year.
So I'm looking at this year. I think it was 105 this year, but they had 106 in 2019.
Well, yeah, but so I got the year wrong. But you got to get the year right before.
No, whoever gets
my bad.
closest. The year was the tiebreaker.
Right.
So since you were 1 win away.
All right. I have a question for you though. What are you guys doing tomorrow night? Can we play this game again tomorrow night? I don't have shit to do. I got a draft to do, but I totally got time. We can play this game again tomorrow night. I'm down. That's all.
Yeah, I mean that was a good game, Doc. That was good thinking of that one.
Hey, appreciate it.
Oh yeah. Well, on that note, Brock, you could take
part, David. Like I said, you always blow the game. It makes me so happy.
I'm always in the finals and I always lose it. It's annoying. But Brock, on that note, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. It's always a blast with you on here.
I am not kidding. I had a great time. I mean, I could totally just do this again tomorrow night. So obviously that's not going to happen, but you guys need me back out there. Let me know. I did want to plug real quick.
Of course,
FTN, our draft guide is coming out tomorrow. I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. No, it's not tomorrow. I'm off. It's the 23rd, which would be Thursday. So that draft guide is going to be out like I'm in there, but whatever. Nobody cares about that. But some of the best writers, I mean, everybody's favorite, Michael Govier, Alex Chamberlain. I mean, some of the best writers, of course, Vlad, our fearless leader, Vlad Sedler. Draft guide's coming out. It's going to be amazing. Full of just everything you're going to need. So hit me up, check out FTN Fantasy on Twitter.
Yeah,
you can find me at Brock Nest Monster. Sorry, me too.
They had a great group over there, and you'll be probably hearing this, assuming I think Cheesecake puts this out usually on Wednesdays or the next day. So you'll probably be hearing this on Wednesday. So that means you'll hear it tomorrow. The guide should be coming out, and you'll be able to obtain that. And again, like Brock said, it's some of the best minds in the fantasy baseball business. So you want to make sure that you go ahead and get that guide, get a jump on your league mates, make sure you can win, take some leagues this year, win some money. So definitely make sure you do all that. Everybody that tuned into the show, whether you watch the podcast or you watch the YouTube and you listen to the podcast, however you like to do it, thank you. Next week, we'll be joined by another great guest for another fun episode. But until then, everyone stay safe, enjoy the off season, and we're going to make like a brag truck and we're going to haul these buns. Catch you guys in the next one.